screen sharing it. Now we're down to the last letters. And this is very technical. And just because you know this doesn't mean you're able to explain, that you're able to pronounce it. My pronunciation of the X is not very good in Spanish. So taking that in consideration, but at least you'll know the rule. The X is pronounced like an S before a consonant. See, in Spanish, it's really important whether something is a consonant or vowel. In English, it is to an extent, but I think in Spanish, it's more so. How a word ends, whether it ends in a vowel or N or S, or whether it ends in a consonant, with the exception of the N and the S, will determine how you pronounce that word. How a word ends in one vowel versus the other vowel will determine whether it's masculine or feminine. How a word is, the meaning of a word, hablo, will determine how you pronounce that O, will determine whether it's hablo, which is yo hablo, pero él habló. So letters are important, well, in English too, but whether it's a consonant or whether it's a vowel, it's important. So if the X is pronounced like an S before a consonant, and that should be like not an, like a S before a consonant, the X as in exponer, see, I don't think I pronounced that correctly. Exponer, and I used to be criticized a lot in Mexico by the way I pronounce the X. I even have problems with it in English somewhat. Exponer, extender. You can see that it's the X, and right after it is a consonant, extrañar, explicar, and exfoliar. These are examples of words where the X is followed by a consonant. But look at this. Look at this. The X is pronounced like KS between vowels. So when it's followed by a vowel and at the end of words. So you have EXI, EXA, EXU, EXI. So we have those two words. So X6, X, you hear that exito, exigir. Oh, my pronunciation is not very good, but I'm not here in order for my pronunciation to be good or not, but for you to learn about the ins and outs, about the detail of Spanish. When I don't do something well, I'll tell you. Certain things, certain parts of Spanish, even though intellectually I know it, that doesn't mean that I always do it correctly. And I can also say the same thing in English. Exito, exigir, examen, exultar, examinar, exacto. I never pronounce that word correctly. Exitir, no. Existir, exagerar, existir, and exagerar. You can see I have problems, and I want you to see it. I want you to see that I have problems pronouncing this word. I always had problems with the X, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't know it. So that's the X in Spanish. And since I only have maybe about 3 or 4 more cards, I'm just going to continue. The N is pronounced like the N before the letters B, B, and P. So I'll say that again, and you can read it. The N is pronounced like the M before the letters B, V, and P. Invitar, imbuir, investigar, invocar, invisible, inversión, input. And it's a tiny difference, but all those tiny differences makes a difference in how you understand the language. And it's interesting because in English, invite, no, you don't do it. But in Spanish, you do. And this might not be all the time in Spanish, depending on the version that you speak. And depending on whether it's your first language or your second language. That is, you're brought up in a Spanish-speaking home, but you never taught how to read it or write it. And so when you see it, you'll pronounce it like you would in English. Okay, so let's continue. The N is pronounced like the M, as we said, in B, before B, V, and P. And we have a bunch of words that good words to practice and also good words to memorize. Invadir, invariable, invencible, invitar, inventar, investir. See, these words I haven't said in a very long time. And a language is something that you practice. So you can see that these are tiny, tiny details of a language as far as pronunciation is concerned. Right? The R, it took me a very long time to be able to do a very long time. And you don't do all the time. You only do it either when there's actually two R's in the sentence, like my name, Carala, or at the beginning of the word. Razón, real, ropa, rojo. So, and some of these, well, rumor is that's taken from English. So, or it's a cognate. So when you have the R at the beginning of the word, you pronounce the R like as if you had two R's at instead of one. When it's in the middle of the word, if it's not two R's, then you do not, you just pronounce it pero, that pronunciation, not too good, pero versus perro. Then the last one, the P in words like séptimo and septiembre, the P is silent. And besides the H, that's one of the few letters that is that's actually silent. I don't know any other letter that's silent, but the H. So that's Spanish pronunciation. Now, what we're going to be looking at, let me show you. We're going to be looking at accents. When and how do you use accents? And we might talk a little bit more about pronunciation because accents, that's pronunciation, right? That's pronunciation. So this is Coralla Ficklin McLean. Welcome, WYLCONE.com. Okay. I want to thank you for coming to my site, for coming to see my video. And you know what? And in learning Spanish or trying to reinforce your Spanish or trying to better understand Spanish, not just because it's Spanish, although I've come to the belief for a couple of years now that Spanish is the second language of the United States, and that eventually it's going to be a language that all Americans are going to need to speak, right? I've come to that belief. But the understanding that English is not the end all, the be all and end all. That a lot of times learning another language, even if you never speak it well and make mistakes, like I make mistakes, right? With that X in between the words, with other words that I find very difficult, instead of getting frustrated, because I don't get frustrated with English, but continue to learn it. If nothing else, you'll be able to understand what people are saying to you. Because English is not the be all and end all. And in many countries, knowing how to speak 2, 3, 4 different languages. When I go up to Manhattan and I see, I'll go across to Manhattan, you don't go up, go across to Manhattan, and I see people at the Empire State Buildings. Many of them are Africans, are from different African countries, right? Whether you're I'm talking about sub-Saharan Africa. And I've seen them in one situation speak German to one person, French to another, Spanish to another, Arabic to another. And I'm just like, what? Here I am feeling very proud that I speak another language, and they speak 3 or 4 different European languages, not counting their own languages. I do not call them dialects, I call them languages, let alone their own language. I've seen people from the islands, I've seen Haitians also come to Mexico. In 6 months, they can speak Spanish. They speak their own language, Creole. They speak French. And a couple of them even speak English pretty well. Right? But we're not encouraged to do that. All right, enough of my ranting. So this is Coralla Ficklin, McLean. Welcome, WYLCOME.com. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing. Like I tell you, I'm going to start sharing. I'm telling you, I'm going to stop sharing. And I want to thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.